talk a little bit today about something I encountered this weekend. And it's about succession, legacy, and the leaders we were made to be. There is a moment in every generation where the baton is not passed. It is simply held by different hands. There's no fanfare, no formal ceremony, just a room where the work continues and the ones carrying it forward are not the ones who built it. I watched that moment happen this past Sunday. The pastoral leaders at the church I was speaking, they were away on vacation. They were resting, they were being restored, they were removed from the weight that they carry every week in ministry. And interesting enough, their adult children were in place. Notice what I said. Their adult children were in place. Every one of them were there serving and leading and holding the line with a kind of quiet authority that did not ask for permission. And in that moment, I heard the Holy Spirit say something to me that did not leave me or has not left me since. And in that moment, it was this: they were not standing in for their parents, they were actually stepping into their legacy. And these two phrases live very close enough to each other that most of us never really notice the distance between them. But that distance is where legacy is either won or lost. Because to stand in for someone is somewhat of a positional assignment. When you're standing in, you're basically a placeholder. You are that warm body in a cold chair. Your authority is borrowed. Your tenure is temporary. You are waiting for the real leader to return so that you can exhale and go back to what you were doing as you step aside. But to step into is something entirely different. Stepping in is not about filling a vacancy. No, stepping into is about fulfilling a calling. And the one who steps into something is not asking, what do I do while they are gone? They are basically asking, what does this moment require of me? Because now is my time. One is substitution, one is about succession. One holds the place, the other carries the purpose. And here's what I do not want any of us to miss about that Sunday morning experience. The parents were not absent. They were in a position of trusting. And the trust at that level of leadership is one of the most mature and difficult acts that any legacy leader can perform. It is far easier to be indispensable than to be reproducible. Indispensability feels like importance. Reproducibility feels like risk. Who wants to be replaced? But leaders who leave and watch the work continue without a phone call, without a crisis, without a system held together only by their personal presence, those are the ones who have actually built something. They're not a ministry. They're not just a team. It's a legacy. And rest for a legacy leader is not abandonment. Rest for that type of leader is testimony. The work ran without them because they did the harder work beforehand. And that was the work of formation, of investment, of releasing what they had built into the hands of the people they trusted to carry it. So let me speak to those of us who are seasoned, veterans of mission, the ones whose names are attached to what we have built. And I want to ask us some honest question, or an honest question. What have we been forming? Have we been forming successors, or have we been forming stand-ins? Because there is a way to develop the next generation that never lets them arrive. We give them access, but we don't give them authority. Yes, we give them assignments, but we don't give them a sense of agency. We let them serve on the stage, but we keep the big decisions in our office, in our purview. And we call it mentorship. But what it produces is a generation that is perpetually on standby. They're capable, they're prepared, they're faithful, and they're just waiting for permission that never fully comes. But that is not legacy. That is dependency. And our ministries cannot endure on that. The adult children on that Sunday morning were not waiting. They were not performing for approval. They were not glancing at the door to see if their parents had come back early. No, they were fully present, fully engaged, fully in. Because somewhere along the way, the work had become theirs too. And there is a moment in the text, our great biblical text that runs through the prophets, through the apostles, through the whole sweep of salvation history, where God does not merely transfer a task, he transfers identity. Elisha does not stand in for Elijah. He carries the spirit of Elijah, but doubled. Joshua does not stand in for Moses. He crosses the Jordan that Moses never crossed. Timothy does not stand in for Paul. He carries the gospel into a generation that Paul will never reach. And in every case, the successor is not trying to replicate the predecessor. They are continuing a work that was never about the predecessor to begin with, because they recognize that they are not owners of ministry. They are stewards of a calling. God is the source, and we are his resources. The work was never ours to own. That means it is not ours to hoard. So if you are like me, a legacy leader, to my pastor friends, principal friends, founder friends, elder friends, parent friends, I want to leave you with this. Stop building people who can hold your place, and start investing in people who can take your position into places you have never been. This is a generation behind you that is not waiting to stand in. They're ready to step into. So give them the room. I'm rooting for you.